Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 73, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I'm a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. So if you didn't notice, I am recording in a new space this week. I am once again traveling. However, where I'm traveling to this time, I actually have access to some recording equipment, which is actually a little bit better than my own. You can see from the microphone here. It's the reason I'm traveling, the fact that I'm traveling is also the reason why this episode is coming out late, so I thank you very much for your patience. Anyway, it's just me for the news this week, but for the segment, I'm getting to all this. It all has a point, I promise you. Because I was traveling, I recorded the main segment that is... I'm getting way ahead of myself, so it's just me for the news. The main segment will not, the news will not include the Pokemon news from Friday because it's Pokemon's 30th anniversary, is basically what I'm trying to say when I get unfrazzled from all of this. So the news will have everything but Pokemon. Pokemon will be the main segment, the 30th anniversary, the Pokemon Presents, the big announcements, all that they had on Friday. Right before I left on my trip, I recorded that main segment with two guests. Amy-Lynn and Nicole are back to talk about Pokemon, as they always are. And so that will be the main segment after I record the news. But again, first off, I don't have anyone to record with this week for the news, but also even if I did, the news would again be like double the length that it is. So that 45 minutes becomes like 90 minutes. And then there's like the hour-long segment for Pokemon. It becomes like a 2.5-3 hour podcast, which is a little unruly even for me. I'm sure there's people out there that are like, yeah, 3-hour podcast, me included. I like 3-hour podcasts. But in terms of editing, uploading, logistics of it all, plus just the branding of it all, I like my podcast to be on the lower side of 2 hours. A little over 2 hours is okay, but I prefer under 2 hours, with 75 minutes being the minimum. But sometimes, of course, we have shorter episodes as well. But also I was a bit overwhelmed too because we recorded that main segment right before I left on my trip, and then a couple nights before that I also recorded a bonus episode, so I'm just a little exhausted from that, but I still want to get an episode out this week. I'd like it to be timely. I want to talk about all the Pokemon stuff, but first I have to get to the news. And so some of the headlines this week include there's an update on the Discord age verification nonsense that we discussed in episode 72. If you want the context for all of that, I do recommend going back and listening to episode 72 where Devona and I talked about that at length for like an hour. Great episode. Go check it out, please, if you haven't. There's new marriage candidates in Stardew Valley, so I'm going to talk about that. There are big queer game updates. There's a spinoff for Overwatch. Until Then is getting DLC. Wolverine has a release date, and you're thinking, Zoe, X-Men? Wolverine? He's not gay. Wolverine may not be gay, but the X-Men are a gay allegory. Let's be honest with ourselves. So I realized, oh yeah, X-Men. Gay. I can talk about Wolverine on the podcast too without having to justify it, really. There were more layoffs because, of course, there were a lot last week, unfortunately. And there is a new esports alternative for the gays, and I'm going to get kind of deep into that too, why we kind of need that more than ever right now. And again, yeah, the main segment will be the Pokemon 30th anniversary content and news with Amy-Lynn and Nicole. But before I jump into all of that, I do have a few quick favors to ask of you, True Avatars. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. Spotify has ratings and comments, while Apple has reviews. Engagement like comments, ratings, and reviews helps to grow the podcast. And a growing podcast means a happy podcast host who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to her show, which creates an infinite feedback loop of more podcast episodes and more growth and more happiness. So please, go leave a comment, rating, and or review. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, please like this episode, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you're the first to know when a brand new video drops. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast, on social media. There are accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok at True Avatars, and you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, and that has no spaces. Just a heads up that I am most active on Blue Sky, so if you do want to get the most regular thoughts and updates, that is where you can find me. Just to ramble a little bit, I do post on all the other channels except TikTok. I made the TikTok, don't post on there. TikTok scares me. I really don't know how to use it, and I haven't really had time to make any actual video content for TikTok outside of just literally posting a screenshot of this week's episode and being like, it's available, go here. But Blue Sky is the platform where I do share most of my thoughts. It's also the most queer-friendly of all the platforms. I wouldn't call it really queer-inclusive, but it's still significantly less transphobic, less queer-phobic than literally all those other platforms I mentioned, by a long shot. Plus, I just like the form of being able to post short messages to people. It's tweeting, but better. So anyway, that's where you can find me there if you want to engage with the podcast throughout the week outside of the posts about, oh, hey, there's a new episode. And do remember, though, that this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and updated discussions that are relevant to queer gamers, so you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. All right, let's get right into the news. So, Discord basically kicked the can down the road, re-age verification. So, like I said, last week, Devona and I discussed the big Discord age verification scandal at length. I do recommend going back to episode 72, which is last week's episode. You might have to jump over the bonus episode from Steam Next Fest, but it is episode 72, not 72.5 for the Discord stuff. But the short of it, if you've heard all that, or you forgot, or you're not able to go back at this moment, is that Discord had planned to require you to submit a picture of your ID to prove that you're an adult. And it also turned out that we discussed that they weren't being entirely truthful about how they were handling your information. They said they weren't going to store any of it, but then it did turn out that some people's info was going to be stored through a third party called Persona, not the video game, but something else more sinister. So this week, however, they said they are no longer working with Persona and will be delaying the rollout of their age verification requirement until later this year. If that sounds like a win, it kind of is, but not really. It feels like they got caught, and they are kicking the can down the road until, realistically, like, if I were them, I would delay it and hope people are too exhausted by the time it comes around again to deal with it a second time or even a third time, that people will just kind of like let it slide next time. I really do think they're kind of hoping for that, even if they haven't said that outright. That's just my theory. And to explain the Persona stuff, it's really too technical for my brain, but the simple version of the Persona stuff is that Discord found some of its code in public because of Persona, something that wasn't supposed to be part of the deal, so that's why they kind of backtracked on that. It wasn't like the fact that they were storing people's information or anything like that. It was because they breached Discord's deal. But anyway, it is what it is. It's crappy, but anyway. My advice, my message about all this, my thoughts, is that we can't let them win. Do not let up. Hold the line. I think we can bully them into eventually foregoing this entirely. Even if next time they're just like, well, we're going to delay it till 2027. We just keep fighting that battle. And I know that's kind of the point, is like, if we keep fighting the battle, eventually we'll be drained and too tired or too sick of it, or we've done this before, or there's nothing else new to try. That's what they want. I'm pretty sure that is what they'll want. So, because then they win, right? So we can't let them. All right, I started off with kind of good news, kind of bad news, but we're going to talk about a lot of good news for a little bit, because I feel like we need some of that, and there's lots of good news. So, Activision revealed, or Blizzard, sorry, not Activision, but Blizzard revealed a new top-down Overwatch game called Overwatch Rush. It's a spin-off, but it looks like it plays exactly like Overwatch, except from a top-down perspective. They revealed that with a press release and some gameplay footage. I watched the gameplay footage. It was a bit of a cluster, so I'm really not sure what I was watching, but it did look like Overwatch gameplay from top down. So if that's something that interests you, go check it out. It's obviously linked in the show notes. But quoting from their press release, I'll just give you some context here. Today, we're introducing Overwatch Rush, a new top-down hero shooter designed specifically for mobile, set in the Overwatch universe. Overwatch Rush is being developed by a dedicated team at Blizzard, separate from Team 4, all of whom have deep mobile experience. Team 4 remains fully focused on Overwatch, which will continue to bring exciting and fresh new experiences for PC and console players in its recently launched Season 1 and beyond. So that's pretty much it for the quote. They gave no info on platforms outside of mobile. I don't know if it's coming to consoles. It sounds like it's not. It's not coming to PC. They didn't share a release date specifically. This isn't really for me, if I'm being honest. I'm not against mobile gaming. I'm not one of those people that like looks down on mobile gamers. If you're a mobile gamer, cool, like all the power to you. I hope you enjoy this game. It's more so the genre that doesn't interest me. Anything multiplayer, I really like my single player stuff. I guess I like being in my own little world is really just it. Also, I like single player experiences are also a little more focused too. Usually, like, even if they're not linear, they're just like, it's like a very tight experience. There's not a lot of variables in terms of like what can kind of happen. You know exactly what to expect. When you're playing with other people, you don't know what to expect. Yeah, I just like my own little world, basically. So, okay, let's move on to Stardew Valley, because this was pretty exciting news. So last week, Stardew Valley also had an anniversary on top of, like, everyone's have anniversaries. I think Zelda's was a couple weeks ago. Dragon Quest is coming up. Pokemon was obviously last week, and Stardew Valley was 10 last week. I can't believe it's already 10. But anyway, happy birthday to Stardew Valley. That's really cool. But as part of the festivities, Concerned Ape held a live stream showing off some of the development history and stories. And then at the end, Concerned Ape revealed 2 new marriage candidates. So they are Clint and Sandy. So I've played some Stardew Valley, not a ton of Stardew Valley. I've never I've never rolled credits or anything. I don't even know if you can do that, if I'm being honest. But Clint is the blacksmith, a very reserved dude. So I'm curious what it'll be like to romance him, because he doesn't really seem like the romanceable type, which is probably why he wasn't romanceable up until now. And the other person is Sandy. I've never played far enough to meet her, so I have no thoughts on her. I saw a picture of her. She looks very beautiful. Great pixel art design, but I know very little about her. So, and there's no information on when these characters are dropping, but they will be dropping as part of the 1.7 update. Whenever that comes, these characters will be marriageable in that update. So like I said, Wolverine is not a super gay game, but the X-Men have been an allegory for queer exclusion and coming out and stuff like that. So I thought, you know what, Wolverine, kind of inclusive. So we're talking about it on the podcast at least a little bit. So the Wolverine game for PS5 is coming out this year. We already knew that. I had assumed it was coming in September, and now we have a date. It is coming September 15th. That is all the information they dropped. They didn't do pre-orders. They didn't do collector's editions announcements. They didn't show any more gameplay. They didn't do a showcase or anything like that. They just literally said it's coming Tuesday, September 15th. I assume they're trying to plant a flag before GTA 6, because I feel like, and they probably feel like, there's going to be a barrage of games rushing to release before GTA 6, and they probably just want to say, like, hey, we're here. Please nobody kind of step on our toes. I do feel like there's going to be a dedicated state of play for it at some point this year, probably in the next few months, or a segment at the Game Awards in June, around which time, whenever this happens, this state of play or this showcase at the Game Awards is probably when they'll do pre-orders and collector's editions and steelbooks and all that stuff for the physical and the digital. I think if there's a state of play, it'll probably be in July. I think if it's at the Game Awards, it'll obviously be early June. I'm really excited for this game. It looks like a bloodier, more focused version, like less open world version of the Spider-Man games that they made for PS4 and PS5. I also like that it features Wolverine, who's canonically a Canadian character. And I do hope some of the X-Men show up, because again, they're a queer allegory. I am looking forward to seeing proper uninterrupted gameplay. Like, I know when they revealed Spider-Man, they didn't show much gameplay, but then I think at E3, I want to say 2017 or 2018, they showed off the opening sequence where Spider-Man's like fighting through a building of goons, and then at the end he fought Kingpin. So hopefully we get to see like some just like uninterrupted gameplay from this game at some point soon, so we can kind of get a real taste of what it is, even though they've shown a little bit before. And it is coming from Insomniac, and they make amazing games, so really excited for this. Okay, the next news for sure is very gay. So, I don't know if anyone's heard of this game called Until Then. It's like, I think it's kind of an indie game. It looks like it's got a lot of support behind it, but it feels like an indie game. It definitely is a cult hit. But it's Until Then has revealed that one of its bisexual characters, Sophia, is not only getting her own storyline in a DLC chapter, but we see her childhood bedroom in the trailer, which has some trans flags in it. So that's really cool that they're revealing this bisexual character is also trans. Of course, that doesn't confirm anything 100%, but that is the most in-your-face way, heavy-handed way to reveal that a character is trans without having her look at the camera and say, I am trans. So I'm considering it confirmed. I haven't had a chance to play Until Then yet, so I can't really talk a lot about it. For a while, I was waiting for the Nintendo Switch 1 version to get backwards compatibility with Switch 2, because currently it's unplayable via backwards compatibility on Switch 2. So when you try to go to buy it through the eShop on Switch 2, it won't even let you buy it. So I hope that does come soon, but once this DLC comes out, I might just, I won't be able to wait. I really want to play it, so I'll probably pick it up on PS5 or PC if it doesn't have backwards compatibility, although I do hope that shows up eventually too. But this was revealed at IGN FanFest, so this DLC is this is the description from the little press release or description in the actual YouTube video. The After Images DLC features 2 new chapters. Sophia returns home to memories she left behind. Mark meets a new lover and an old friend. On their own, they explore what it means to carry on living in the presence of absence. Play fresh minigames from tarot to baking, interact with engaging in-game phone apps for dating and video content, and run into beloved characters old and new across 2 chapters of gameplay. A fateful meeting sets off a chain reaction, upending Mark's life and until then. People disappear and memories prove unreliable. Uncover a hidden truth with Mark and his friends in this narrative adventure and race to unravel the mystery before it's too late. Until then, After Images will be available in 2026 on PlayStation 5, Xbox, I assume Xbox Series, but maybe Xbox One as well. I actually don't know. I should have checked that out. In fact, let me double check that. Until then, looks like it's coming as part of the DLC. Okay, so it's part of the DLC announcement here, so I'll just add that to my sources list. But it's coming to Xbox Series X and S. So no Xbox One version. I was wrong about that. This DLC will be the kick in the pants I need to actually pick it up somewhere, even if it's not on Nintendo Switch too. So, and I don't think there's an actual exact date for it. It just is later this year in 2026. So look forward to that. And the art style is beautiful. I recommend going to check out this game. Even just trailers, it's really pretty. But with that game announcement out of the way, we do have to jump into some of the bad news to your avatars. I'm very sorry about this. But again, we're kind of a woke podcast, so I do like to talk about it. But there were a ton of layoffs this week. So the UK game store chain is closing all of its stores. The only remaining locations are now concession stores, quote unquote, I found on the Nintendo Life source, located within Sports Direct and House of Fraser. I do want to assume these are just tiny versions of the stores with a small helping of products inside larger stores, but I'm not sure. If any UK game store aficionados want to jump in the comments and let me know, that would be great. But yeah, it's a little disappointing because I know physical media is kind of dying a slow and painful death, and brick and mortar stores aren't ideal for everyone anymore, and they're just not doing well in general, but it does suck to see even like really corporate stuff kind of going away. But hopefully in the wake of game closing, maybe more independent game stores will open. And if you've never been to an independent game store, you gotta go. They're amazing. And also go in there, make friends with the store owners and the staff. You never know what kind of like connections, where those connections that you make will lead to, whether they hold aside a used game for you or give you a deal or like any kind of thing. Like, and you just make friends with people. You'll be able to talk video games too. Like, how often do you get to go into a game store and just like shoot the shit with other gamers, you know? Plus it's just fun looking at used games. Sometimes you discover something you didn't realize, or you discover a nice deal on a game too. So anyway, all that is to say is game is closing its stores in the UK, unfortunately. With it will go all the staff as well. So I didn't find any numbers on how many staff, but it's all of them. So whoever's left. For anyone familiar with the studio behind Shadow of the Colossus or Demon Souls remakes, Sony is shutting down that studio. So it's Bluepoint. 5 years ago, Sony bought Bluepoint, the studio behind these remakes. And the whole time Sony owned them, they didn't release a single game. They being Bluepoint, not Sony. It was Sony's fault for having them work on a live service game instead of a remake of a single-player video game, which is what they're known for. The live service game obviously didn't work out because the studio's strength was obviously, again, single-player remake content. So here's the kicker, though. This is going to get under everyone's skin. Last year, they pitched a Bloodborne remake. Yes, you heard that right. Inside Sony, there was talk of a Bloodborne remake. They pitched it to Sony, and it was not approved. Let me just take a sip of water here while I leave you in suspense. Insiders and leakers on the internet aren't really sure specifically why it wasn't approved, but everyone does agree that it's From Software's fault because they didn't want the Bloodborne remake. Sony was all for it, supposedly. That comes from Jason Schreier on Bloomberg. But now Bluepoint has been shut down. I'm really sad because Bloodborne remake or no Bloodborne remake, they made really good quality remakes. Like the Shadow of the Colossus remake. I've only played a bit of it, but it's gorgeous. I know there's some differences between the remake and the original, and that does upset some purists. But as someone who hadn't played the original, in fact, the only reason I knew about that game is because I saw it in a movie with Adam Sandler and Don Cheadle and Liv Tyler. What's that movie called? Let me just look it up because it's called Reign Over Me. Which is an interesting movie. I don't know that I would recommend it. It is interesting. It's very depressing. It's very bleak. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in looking this up. But anyway, in that movie, Adam Sandler plays that game quite a bit throughout. It is a Sony movie, so it does feel a little bit product placement-y, but that's how I knew about the game, and that's my only experience with the original version of it. So I don't have anything to compare. I really didn't have anything to compare it to when I played the remake, but the remake was gorgeous. It felt great to play, very challenging, but very fun. So I was hoping that they would remake at least something else in that quality that wasn't a Souls-like. I'm not rooting against a Bloodborne remake, to be clear. If they'd made that, I would have been happy for Bloodborne fans, but Souls games are definitely not for me, which is why I have Cleo on the podcast to talk about them, because I would much rather play like 3D platformers, racing games, indie games, stuff like that. Nothing too difficult. I like my baby-ass baby mode in hard games. So anyway, I'm getting away from my point here, is that Bluepoint made amazing games. They made really amazing games, and it sucks that Sony shut them down instead of putting them on literally anything else. So yeah, it's really sad. I would assume I'm not sure if it was confirmed whether or not staff are being laid off or if they're being moved into other parts of the studio. Let me just double check here. Yeah, no, it doesn't actually say how many people are being laid off, or if they're being laid off or they're being moved elsewhere in the studio. It's really disappointing because they didn't make a game. Like, they didn't release a game. I feel like they haven't gotten close to living up to their potential. Like, everything they made is good. I'm not underselling that, but like, I feel like they had a lot of room to grow still, which is really disappointing. And there's lots of Sony properties that could have used a remake. I've seen people talk about Sly Cooper, Motorstorm. Motorstorm's another series. And I think the other one was Infamous. Thank you. I kept wanting to call them Insomniac, but they're the Infamous games. And I feel like I've seen people calling for Infamous remakes as well. So like, or they could have literally remade anything else. So it's a little disappointing. They're gone. I mean, it's very disappointing they're gone, to be honest. But anyway, there are more layoffs to get to. So we're going to talk about that next. Skate Studio, the studio that made the new Skate remake, which they just released into early access. Like, they just released it. So if you want to call it Skate 4, Skate Remake, Skate Reboot, they've just confirmed layoffs. To support the game's future, they're saying. I'm not really quoting that, but sure, Jan, whatever. They didn't say how many people are going to lose their jobs. They just said they're kind of like restructuring to support the future of the game. So anyway, really disappointing. Especially since the game hasn't even left early access yet. Like, how can you possibly know whether the game's going to be successful? The game is in early access. A lot of people, like me, I really won't touch every game in early access because I'm like, hey, the game isn't ready yet. I'd like to wait till it's like fully ready and feature complete. I have to be really interested in something to play in early access. So, and Tencent is shutting down a studio by the name of Teamy Montreal. Never heard of it? I haven't either, because they hadn't released a game yet. Stephen Totillo spotted the closure news on LinkedIn. I'm not really sure if Tencent didn't have faith in whatever they were working on, or if the team wasn't able to deliver anything substantial, but reading the LinkedIn comments, I would bet on, unconfirmed of course, that it's the former. All right, and this is the last bit of layoff news. IGN bought Game Informer, or Eurogamer, not Game Informer, sorry. My brain is like totally toast, can you tell? Bought Eurogamer in 2024. Something I don't think I knew about. I feel like I missed that news. And IGN is already cutting its editorial staff over at Eurogamer. So this includes Eurogamer's quote-unquote most experienced editors and its entire 4-person video team, though at least one position will be transferred to IGN according to people with knowledge of the situation, end quote. So I'm going to get on my soapbox here and say that I know a lot of people have a disdain or at least a mistrust for games journalism. And to be honest, those feelings are valid. Games journalism does leave a lot to be desired. A lot of games journalism consists of clickbait or basic reporting on existing news, like press releases, with very little commentary. And a lot of basic reporting really does feel like just advertisements for games instead of really being like news. And not to mention that IGN itself really does post a lot of deals as news and advertisements as news on their main page, to be clear. So I just want to say, and I think I've said this before, but if you can find any games journalists, websites, outlets that you like and trust, you need to stick to them like glue and support them right now, even if it's just giving them clicks and reading their website and keeping ads turned on, because there weren't a huge number of games journalists, like real journalists, that we can trust to begin with, and that number is dwindling weekly. So, not to toot my own horn, but I mean, like, even just like when I see my view count go up, that is like important to me. It does, like, when I have a couple poor weeks in terms of views and then I come back and have a really strong week with a strong episode, it does keep me going. It's like fuel to my energy to do this, and I'm gonna keep doing this. Like, even if things are tough sometimes, like, I want to keep doing this, but there aren't very many people that are just like, and I say that right now, I'm literally reporting on the news. I'm trying to add commentary to it, but I'm not doing a lot of like journalism, deep dives and stuff like that. So it really is more of an entertainment medium here for me that I'm making for you. I'm not really doing a lot of investigation, stuff like that. I would like to, but only when the opportunity really arises, whether that's like I stumble upon a story, or I can go to like a queer conference, or, you know, I'm doing interviews or reviews and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is just kind of like commentary every week, and that's just kind of what it's going to have to be. So I've been called a journalist. I don't know that I am a journalist. I would like to be one. I definitely enjoy it more than video editing, to be clear, but I would like to kind of combine those two things. Anyway, all that is to say, if there is a games journalist or games commentary people that you like, whether it's on YouTube or a website or a blog, what have you, do what you can to support them, even if it's not financially. So there are not too many people left. They're also dropping like flies, just like the rest of the games industry. Okay, that's all the layoff news this week. There is some weird news that comes from Checkpoint Gaming, is that I'm just going to read the article here. Valve is the subject of yet another lawsuit, this time in New York. The suit, filed by New York Attorney General Letitia James, alleges that Valve has promoted illegal gambling in its games via the implementation of loot box mechanics and by enabling gamers to make money via these mechanics through the Steam community market and third-party sellers. The lawsuit seeks to permanently stop Valve from promoting gambling features in its games, disgorge all ill-gotten gains, and pay fines for violating New York's laws. Illegal gambling can be harmful and lead to serious addiction problems, especially for our young people, said James in a statement. I'm just going to take a drink of water before I keep reading the quote. Valve has made billions of dollars by letting children and adults alike illegally gamble for the chance to win valuable virtual prizes. These features are addictive, harmful, and illegal, and my office is suing to stop Valve's illegal conduct and protect New Yorkers. End quote. So, first off, I do wonder what Letitia James thinks of casinos, because I'm pretty sure aren't casinos legal in New York, and New York has them. It would be one thing if the lawsuit was only focused on children gambling, because, like, sure, I think that's definitely at best a gray area, but loot boxes in gaming is its own issue, especially for kids, but you're going to ban everything for adults too? Are they high? Again, gambling is its own thing. It has its own set of issues, but adults can make their own decisions. So it's really weird that they're just not trusting adults with it either. However, it does look like this might be a Trojan horse, pointed out by Kamawumi on Blue Sky. So they discovered something in the official press release from the state of New York. Although this case is about illegal gambling, it is important to note that Valve's promotion of games that glorify violence, and this is from the press release, that glorify gun violence and guns helps to fuel the dangerous epidemic of gun violence, particularly among young gamers who can become numbed to grave violence before their brains are fully developed. So I don't even know where to begin with this. I can't believe we're doing this again. I feel like it's already been disproven that violence in video games causes violence in real life. Even if that were true, they would be very, 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 very fringe cases. Again, where people have access to guns. Again, this is like a whole can of worms. I can't even like get into it without this being like a 3-hour discussion. But it's like every time there's like something going on somewhere where they're like, we're going to ban this thing that like people mostly like kind of didn't really care about. And then you like read the fine print and it's more like, actually, this is the real thing we want people to focus on in here, or not focus on rather. We're hiding it in here. Anyway, it's just also, speaking of where to begin, why are they only going after Valve? Like, I know Valve has their own loot box stuff on their own platforms and stuff like that, but like Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Epic, and Apple also sell games on their platforms that have loot boxes. And why is that not the focus here? Why are they only going after Valve? Why are they not going off after all the other platform holders? Because they also have all these games available for purchase that also have loot boxes in them. Why are they not going after the individual games? Why is this not like a broad scoped thing? Why is this specifically Valve? Again, feels pretty nefarious, right? Maybe it is literally just supposed to be this Trojan horse to go after violence in video games, but I don't know how you even begin to deal with that. Even if that were true, violence in video games actually caused violence in real life, you're literally going to like wipe a lot of video games off the board. Games like Pokémon, Minecraft, Stardew Valley all have some form of violence in them, and these are, I would consider, very, 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 very harmless, child-friendly games. So, like, goodbye most video games if you're going to go after that. And, like, what, you're going after it in New York? Like, and is this one of those things, too, where if you prove it in New York, it is applicable at the Supreme Court to go everywhere else as well? I don't even know, but this is bullshit, and I'm kind of scared to see where this goes. Hopefully it's laughed out of court. I don't know. I guess we're going to kind of follow that and track that and see where that goes, but maybe it'll just be banned on Valve. But again, even if you ban violence in video games on Valve's platform, like on Steam, like, it's like most games. Again, like, Steam has tens of thousands of games on there. Like, are most of those going away? Do you have to go through every single game and like, oh yeah, this has violence in it, okay, ban it? Like, who's going to do that work? That is a lot of work. Like, again, if you can hear how ridiculous that sounds, that's because it is ridiculous. This whole thing is ridiculous. So, anyway, apparently everything we thought was, like, confirmed and sacred and, like, just, like, accepted as fact is now suddenly being called into question. I'm tired, and I'm sure everyone else is too. But, anyway. One more piece of news here. It's kind of good, it's kind of bad. It's a mix of both, but, anyway. I've never heard of the Gay Games before. I don't know if you've heard of the Gay Games, but if you're like me, this comes from the Gay Games website. We are the biggest LGBTQ plus sports and culture event in the world. Every 4 years, like the Olympics, that's my ad, we bring together thousands of participants and spectators to join together during a 10-day event filled with sports, culture, and entertainment. Our events are open to everyone regardless of gender, sexuality, or any other factor. So, it's in a different country every 4 years. There are 38 sports, and this is the big news, now they are adding esports. So, reading from the website here, this landmark debut brings the thrill of EA Sports FC and Overwatch to the Gay Games. In keeping with the founding principle of personal best, this is a strictly amateur-only event. This is a space for community gamers and hobbyists to compete on a world stage without the pressure of professional play. For Overwatch, players have 2 ways to get involved. You can register as a full preformed team or sign up as a solo player to be matched with new teammates from around the world. While the competition is an in-person experience in Valencia, fans worldwide can tune in to watch the finals play out on live stream, ensuring the whole world can cheer you on. The esports event on July 3rd is the main attraction, but the fun starts much earlier. Participants can enjoy 5 days of inclusive gaming, including exhibitions, demos, and free play areas. Away from esports, the Gay Games accreditation grants access to the full 8-day sports and cultural program as a spectator, the opening and closing ceremonies, the bustling festival village, and a massive cultural program including art exhibitions, film festivals, and the International Rainbow Memorial Run. So, if this sounds like something that interests you, there is more information in the Gaming Mag article linked in the show notes, which is what I was reading from. The timing on this is kind of amazing, and I'm not sure if, like, I feel like you can't organize this in a day or in a few weeks, but in previous episodes, we've talked about that RTS, which is Saudi Arabia owned, has been getting much more involved in the ownership of EVO, or EVO, I don't know how you say it. I'm not much of a competitive gamer, as you probably know at this point. But Sony sold their stake in RTS, or in EVO rather. So for anyone who doesn't know, EVO is kind of like the Olympics of professional competitive gaming. Well, it came out this week that RTS, or a few weeks ago, that RTS now owns all of EVO. So EVO is entirely Saudi Arabia owned, which no statement has been really been made at EVO or RTS on queer player exclusion, but I have my doubts that it'll be welcoming, because even at the best of times, things are hard for queer people in allo cishet dominated spaces. So, and of course, given Saudi Arabia's human rights track record, it's nice to know that there is at least somewhere for people to play, even if the Gay Games are significantly much more limited in scope and not for professional esports players. But maybe the Gay Games will grow as an alternative to both EVO and the Olympics, especially with the way trans women are being treated in sports around the world right now anyway. So it's good that the safe space does exist. I didn't know that the Gay Games existed at all, but I will be keeping my eye on that going forward. So that is really, really cool. Anyway, that is all my rambling with the news for this week. After this short musical interlude, I'll be back on with Amy-Lynn and Nicole to talk about Pokemon's 30th anniversary and all the news with all the new games and game updates. Hi, true avatars, and welcome back from the break. I have with me Amy-Lynn, trans woman, she, her, and Nicole, bisexual woman, she, her. How are you both doing?
Pretty good.
Doing great.
How is that Pokemon Presents?
It was good. I watched it twice, once without sound, once with sound, which is my usual work direct experience.
Okay, so the without sound is not for, like, shits and giggles. It's
it's because I'm working at the time.
Okay.
No, I'm not doing that for fun.
I watched it live as it was happening with sound, and it was pretty fun, like watching it together with you, Zoe. And we were like live reacting at each other. It was great.
Yeah, I was trying not to scream because every time I got excited about anything, Olive kind of like jumped up and ran away. So I was trying to be very calm, even though I wanted to squeal a lot. But anyway, if anyone hasn't clued in, today is Pokemon's 30th anniversary, the day we're recording. The day this podcast comes out is long past. We're all also even older now. But Pokemon turns 30 today, which means we're very old. That's basically what that means. But also, not only are we old, and Pokemon is old too, but they revealed new games, new information, because they did their usual Nintendo Direct style presentation. It was 25 minutes long. They mostly revealed stuff we knew, but there was a few surprises in there too. So we're going to kind of talk about not everything in there, but a lot of the bigger ticket items too. So I thought we'd just dive right into it and talk about the game music collection, which for anyone who didn't see the Pokemon Presents, they're releasing a tiny mini like music player that's shaped like a Game Boy, but for some reason they decided they want you to insert 45 different cartridges, and each one has an individual 45-second Game Boy track from the original Pokemon Red and Blue games. So, and it's portable, so you're carrying around 45 cartridges for some reason. Anyway, everyone else seems more excited about this than I am, so I'm going to let you guys take this for a second, because it's also $95 Canadian.
I did not know the price.
Yeah.
That seems excessive.
This is something that I push the price out of my mind, because I had just like a week ago, and I wish I knew the exact YouTuber, but I was watching a video about how amazing the music of the original Game Boy Pokemon games are, as far as like how they were utilizing the very limited technology of the original Game Boy, like to its limits, to create like audio illusions of bass lines. So like I've been really like hyped on the classic Pokemon music for the last 2 weeks, and then this happened, so I was refreshing the Pokemon Center Canada website to see when it was going to launch.
That's fair. I mean, for me, if they had done Gold and Silver, I would have bought it without question, because that's the best soundtrack in Pokemon ever. But Nicole, are you going to go for this? I mean, it sounds like you pre-ordered it, Amy-Lynn, right? Or you placed the order?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's available today, so which was cool, actually.
It seems like something I want to like touch it and hear it in person, like maybe once per track, but then I don't know if I need to like actually own it, and it might just collect dust at my place, but I do want to like see it and hear it.
Do we know if it, I guess Amy-Lynn, you might know this, does it have a headphone jack like the original Game Boy?
I don't care, and I didn't look.
Okay.
when I was playing like on that very, old brick Game Boy, because I am old, when I was playing Pokemon under a lamp, because that Game Boy had no backlight whatsoever. I did not use headphones. Like I don't know if I ever inserted a headphone jack into my original Game Boy. My Game Boy Advance, yes, definitely, but I don't think I did for that original Game Boy, or less than 5 times. So to get the true Game Boy experience, I need to not use headphones, even if it does have a jack.
That's fair.
I think I did use headphones a couple times, and I remember like when I tried them for the first time, it felt like there's a slightly different quality to the sound, because it suddenly feels like stereo, and you can hear some things that you couldn't if you were just hearing it through the speaker. This is on my Game Boy Color. I didn't have the original, blocky one, but yeah.
Yeah, same. I had a color. Now, I want to go back to the cartridge thing because, yes, there are 45 tracks in the game. There are 45 cartridges. And each track is on a single cartridge. And each track, I don't know how much they're going to loop each track because the tracks are loopable. So maybe they loop for 2 or 3 minutes to make it worth the insertion of the cartridge for that each track. But the reason there's 45 cartridges is because on the back of each cartridge, when you insert it into the Game Boy player, there's a little image from a screenshot that represents that track. So like if you're listening to battle music, it'll show like a trainer battle. If you're listening to gym battle music, it'll show the gym battle music. If you're listening to like the Road to Cerulean City, it'll show like outside Mount Moon on that route there. A screenshot of that. So I think that element of it is very cool. And when I first saw this reveal, I assumed it was a new Lego Game Boy with a Pokemon add-on. Because they had just done it for like Mario and Zelda and stuff, but there was no Pokemon version.
For a brief moment, I thought it was that, like, classics thing, like the Game & Watch for Pokemon, because it did look like, oh, here's a physical Game Boy. I figured, oh, they're not doing red, blue, yellow as part of NSO or a separate purchase. It'll just be this thing that won't even connect to the internet.
So cool. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
And then they could have added, like, they could have given you the cartridges and you buy them separately. I know, money, but whatever. But then they could have done Gold, Silver, Crystal as well later. But I guess that wouldn't have worked on the classic Game Boy, actually.
And people would have complained that you can't take them to Pokemon Home.
Yeah, I mean, people almost complained about that anyway because... Well, people are complaining about that because... What's our next item here? I think it's... Yeah, we're talking about Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. So let's move on to that because this is kind of a segue. Is that... So... Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green were announced last week. We talked about it on the podcast, or I talked about it on the news segment. Those are going to have home support. That was confirmed. So you'll be able to transfer your Pokemon out of those games into your Pokemon Home storage and then move those into other games like Pokemon Champions and Scarlet and Violet, what have you. And assumedly Winds and Waves when that comes out as well. And we'll get to that. Those are the new Gen 10 Pokemon games. Spoiler alert. If you didn't watch the Pokemon Presents or lived under a rock for the last 2-3 days when the podcast goes up. But... they announced Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, the second story-based GameCube Pokemon game that came out back in, I think, 2005. Or at least it came back out 2005 in Japan, at least. Anyway, that's coming to Nintendo Switch Online on the GameCube expansion for Switch 2 only. And so because it's on NSO, because it has save states, because it lets you duplicate Pokemon if you play it that way, they're not adding Pokemon Home support. So you will not be able to catch a purified Pokemon in that game and send it to Pokemon Home or have the compatibility with Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. So people are really upset about that those games don't have home support. But it's the same with Stadium and Stadium 2 when they added those. Those aren't compatible with Pokemon Home either. You can't transfer in your Pokemon from Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal back on the 3DS, from Bank to Home, and then Home over to Pokemon Stadium like you could have done back in the old days. They didn't allow you to do that either. So that trend continues. But Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, are we excited? Nicole, you don't have a Switch 2, so you can't play it. But Amy-Lynn, you have a Switch 2. Are you going to be playing this?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
I unfortunately, I don't have nostalgia for the GameCube Pokemon titles. I've been a pretty diehard Pokemon fan since before Pokemon Red and Blue came out, but I don't know what it was, but the GameCube Pokemon games eluded me for whatever reason. I don't know why they never appealed to me. Maybe I was too into Wind Waker at the time, or it was the same period of time where for whatever reason I didn't buy Thousand Year Door.
Okay.
And I loved the first Paper Mario. I was so excited for GameCube, but I guess there was this weird period in high school where I didn't buy a lot of games for some reason.
Yet you had a GameCube.
Yeah. I was too busy playing Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, which I don't think I actually owned. I just rented a whole lot.
Was that a trans game? And the Giant Egg? No, I'm kidding.
But were there any other GameCube Pokemon games?
Oh, there's Channel. There was
the
Box,
Game Boy
Ruby, and
Player.
Sapphire. Oh, yeah, there was the Game Boy Player that you could put the cartridges in, which I had.
I had that.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't got... I literally gave away my GameCube and XD Gale of Darkness and Coliseum and Pokemon Channel. The Game Boy Player. What else? I think... Were those the 4 GameCube games? I don't think they made anything else. I think those are just the 4 of them.
For whatever reason, I did buy Battle Revolution.
Oh, that was N64.
Oh, okay.
Sorry?
For whatever reason, I did buy Battle Revolution, which is for the Wii.
We have to have a conversation about this at some point. I didn't know this about you. This changes everything. So, but did you play Coliseum or XD, or did you just not play them? But
no, I don't know why I didn't play them.
Well, this is your chance.
They're
and
very
free.
cool. I don't have Plus or whatever it is.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I'm part of a family plan. And the head of the family did not purchase the Plus.
Okay, when it loops back around for mine, I'll add you to mine, because you gotta... I mean, there are Pokemon fans out there that don't like these games. There are fans that swear by them. They're okay. Coliseum didn't... I remember Coliseum. It's really hard. It gets really grindy about halfway through. You're limited to like the 20 or 30 Pokemon that you can catch from, like, you have to steal them. So basically, these games are where shadow Pokemon come from. So you're a trainer, and your job is to battle against the evil team. I can't remember what they're called. Team Cypher? Is that what they're called? And
sounds right.
They've like basically made Pokemon more powerful by making them really evil, and they have this shadowy aura that only you can see. And so when you catch these Pokemon with a shadowy aura, you have the power to throw a Pokeball at these things when you weaken them, like a normal game, and you can steal other trainers' Pokemon that way. And then you battle with these Pokemon and train them up, and at a certain point they'll reach a point where you can purify them, and then once you purify them, they become pure of heart again, they become good. And then at that point you can transfer them into, at the time, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green.
Which of the two games is where the famous Mirror Bee is from?
I think both.
Oh,
yeah, I think he's in both of them. Yeah, and he is the. I mean, Mirror B is the tall dude with the afro who has a team of Booty Colos. That's his whole thing, and he dances to the battle, and he's got disco music. He's a meme. He's a walking shitpost.
Oh my gosh, I never knew about him.
From what I remember, he does have good music though.
He does, yeah. He has really good battle music. But he's not the leader like Giovanni of the evil team, but he's like high up there to the point where like in Coliseum it feels like he's the leader. Anyway, so there's Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon XD, and they are sequels to each other. So Coliseum came first, and for some reason they're releasing XD before Coliseum on NSO. I'm not sure why. Some people are talking about like it's a better quality game, but like I don't think it really matters. Anyway, it's strange because I was hoping to play Coliseum first, then XD. I had XD as a kid. I never played XD. I literally opened it, like I broke the seal, and I never touched the game after that. But I liked Coliseum. So I'm excited to actually play it for once.
I know Coliseum was really like a big deal when it was coming out because the protagonist was so dark looking. Like he was very edgy. Like he was the Shadow the Hedgehog of Pokemon at the time, where like no one thought that we'd have like a mature Pokemon game. And then I remember like the articles in Nintendo Power and IGN saying like, oh, here's Pokemon finally maturing with this new protagonist. And he kind of looked like a Yu-Gi-Oh character, but from what I saw, the game itself wasn't that much darker aside from the purification.
Are you talking about the kid that wears yellow or the tall dude with gray hair that wears blue?
The blue.
Okay,
one,
that's guys from Coliseum.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, I thought you said XD. Never mind. My brain is tired. So... and so XD, though, I should mention, though, that this is cool, is that XD has a special form of Lugia that was designed by James Turner. He's the only English-speaking, and I think probably white, non-Japanese anyway, Pokemon designer. And the first design he ever did was working for Genius Sonority. Genius Sorority? No, Sonority. I think Genius Sonority. Developing those games, and he designed Shadow Lugia. That was his first Pokemon design, and then he got folded into Game Freak later. So, and Shadow Lugia looks really cool. So mostly when Shadow Pokemon happen, it's just like in Pokemon Go, they just have an aura, like a hazy purple smoke coming off them. But Shadow Lugia is called XD001. That's its code name. That's why the game is called XD Gale of Darkness. It's referring to Shadow Lugia. And they've made him significantly more evil somehow. I've never played the game, so I don't know why or how.
I mean, translated to mid-2000s internet speak, it is Pokemon, like, laughing face, Gale of Darkness.
That's true, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As we know, Pokemon in the mid-2000s was very high on internet shitposts and being
Too much water.
Too much water. IGN actually tweeted, oh my god. Yeah. So, the Pokemon company tweeted something about, or did IGN? No, IGN tweeted about the water. And then the Pokemon Twitter, the main Twitter replied 7.8 out of 10, which is back when IGN reviewed Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, they gave it a 7.8 out of 10, and one of their bullet points for why they gave it that score was too much water. So anyway.
And Pokemon has referenced that joke in the games. Like, I think the very next game, was it Sun and Moon, where they mentioned, I think it was in, like, the communication hub, they had, like, a simulation of people talking online, and one of, like, the message board, like, literal message board thing was, like, 7.8 or something, or too much water.
Yeah. Actually, from Gen 4 onwards, they were pretty good about including memes, because there's a trainer in Diamond and Pearl, I think, or maybe it's just Platinum, that when he goes to battle, I think it's a hiker, and he says, "My body is ready." So
Staying on top of the memes.
yeah. Nicole, you don't have a Switch 2, but I'm going to ask now, because there's a whole bunch of... There's XD that's on Switch 2, and you're on the family plan that I'm on, so you have access to it if you had a Switch 2. But also, with Winds and Waves and Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, and whatever they're calling the third one, probably Revengeance, you're going to pick up a Switch 2, right?
I think it's going to happen at some point. It's inevitable. But maybe there'll be a good deal or something, or a bundle. But maybe that time has come and gone. I don't know.
Well, you have a while.
Yeah.
I think the price might go up this year. That's what people are saying, is that they might increase the price because of cost of living. And I mean, I guess tariffs are over now, because they've been ruled... The illegal tariffs were ruled illegal by the Supreme Court. And I'm certain that Nintendo will pass all those savings on to the customer, because they're such a nice company. But anyway, I guess when you do get your Switch 2, those games will be there for you.
Maybe Amiibo will drop from $54 to back to $50.
That would be nice.
Oh my gosh.
Did you pick up any of the Kirby's?
I got one for Christmas.
Oh, nice. Which one?
The Waddle Dee.
Oh, cool. Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know, they made Kirby Air Riders amiibos, but they didn't just like put the character in there. They put the cart that the character rides in. And then also, if you get multiple amiibos, you can switch the rider and the character and the cart, or whatever you want to call it. So like if you get Kirby in the Warp Star, and you get Bandana Waddle Dee, and what does it come with?
I think the Wing Star.
The Wing Star. So you could put Kirby on the Wing Star and Bandana Waddle Dee on the rider on the Warp Star.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other thoughts on XD Gale of Darkness before we move on? All right. So the next game, I mean, they showed off a bunch of games, but next we're going to talk about Fire Red, Leaf Green. They announced these last week, but they did add some additional details. So when they first put the game up on the eShop, there was a little note saying that home compatibility, Pokemon Home. For anyone who doesn't know, we've been talking about Pokemon Home, but it's a little storage software that you can store like thousands and thousands of Pokemon that allow you to transfer them into other games. There's Pokédex things you can do. There's like rewards for Pokédex completion in those games. They said that you would be able to transfer your Pokemon from Fire Red and Leaf Green that are ports, and they're individually priced, and they're not part of NSO. You can just buy them and keep them forever digitally. You'd be able to transfer your Pokemon from those games one way back into Home. You wouldn't be able to send anything from Home back into Fire Red, Leaf Green. But a few hours after they put that information, those pages went live, they took the Home compatibility thing out, which was strange, because I thought, okay, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe it's not coming, which would be a huge mistake for treating up fans. But they did confirm that home compatibility is coming. You'll be able to send those Pokemon into Champions as well. And we'll get to that later as well. But they also, some fans sped run through the games. And we found out that when you beat the Elite Four and get your Hall of Fame, when you finish the credits and whatever, you get the Mystic ticket, and what's the other one? The Aurora ticket? Yeah. So, for anyone who doesn't know, back when these games came out, if you were really lucky and only lived in the US or Japan, because I don't think they came anywhere else, you could get special mystery gift tickets if you went to events, and you could get the Aurora ticket, and what was it? I just literally said it. I can't even remember. Anyway, one ticket gets you a
Deoxys and then some birds.
Some birds, yeah. Ho-Oh and Lugia. So you have to go to an island and catch Deoxys after you do a puzzle game, and then there's a mountain and a cave on this other island, and at the top of the mountain is Ho-Oh, and at the bottom of the cave is Lugia. And you can catch those Pokemon in those games, because they otherwise weren't available in either Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, or Leaf Green in the time. So it was a kind of a big deal, and that was the first time you could get Deoxys, too.
I'm glad the Ho-Oh and Lugia breeding program was successful.
So
yeah, I somehow missed out on Fire Red and Leaf Green when they came out, so I'm excited to play them for the first time.
I ended up playing Leaf Green like on a whim, like months after it came out. I remember it was one of my very first times at the Eaton Centre, which is a mall in Toronto, and I just went into the EB Games and they had a copy of Leaf Green, and it was like one of the first on a whim game purchases I made. I'm like, oh yeah, I like Pokemon. I should buy this. Yeah, it was fun, but Kanto fatigue is real. Sorry. I love, like, I bought the Game Boy with the $100 Game Boy Music Hit Clips thing. I get nostalgia, but there's only so much going through Kanto, I guess, I can take, especially with the classic turn-based battles.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to get Kanto games, at least the two good ones are on Switch. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and Fire Red and Leaf Green. But Nicole, did you end up picking one up?
Sorry, which one?
Did you end up picking one of the Fire Red or Leaf Green?
Not yet. Not since this morning.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I think
I've been busy.
Yes, I think I will get Fire Red, since you mentioned you'll get Leaf Green. Or did you already get it?
Oh, I preloaded immediately after I pre-ordered it last week, but I haven't had a chance to play it. But I'm really excited. As a kid, I had both Fire Red. I had all the Gen 5 games for some reason. I was a very lonely kid. But anyway, so I had Fire Red and Leaf Green, and I think I explained last week on the podcast that Fire Red, Leaf Green I always kept for some reason in one of my DS game cases, because those DS cases had a slot for a DS card and also a slot for a GBA cartridge to keep in there. And I think when I donated Diamond and Pearl, my Leaf Green cartridge was in there, but for some reason Fire Red wasn't in one of those, so I still have Fire Red but not Leaf Green, so I rebought Leaf Green, even though I think I prefer, I'm a Charizard fan, I'm not a Venusaur fan, but I like that green version finally came out in the West. That was why I bought Leaf Green at the time, because we never got green version. So, and actually, you guys can chat for a second, but I'm going to grab something cool I bought in Japan.
I mean, the lack of, Pokemon Water Blue version is probably just laziness. Like, it's very cool that we got a green finally, but I don't think it was from, we need to finally remedy the loss that the international audience had of the giant Orflashia frog.
I think I will like it when I do get to play it, because I am nostalgic for Kanto, and I did like Gen 3, like the aesthetic of Gen 3, so it seems to check all the boxes.
Yeah, and they added some post-game content that wasn't there before. So the first thing, too, is that I think you can go to they're called the Sevi Islands because there's supposed to be 7 of them. There's actually a few more bonus islands on top of that, including the ones we just talked about where you go to catch Hoalugi and Deoxys. But they're called the Sevi Islands, and they added... So first off, the first thing I should tell you about is that Moltres is no longer on Victory Road. Moltres is on one island, I believe, in a volcano. And there are some Johto Pokemon there you can catch. But they added these islands that people thought at the time because people really wanted the Orange Islands as a Pokemon game. And at the time, the games never referenced the anime, ever. The fact that they put Ash, they referenced Ash in Sun and Moon for a mystery gift was, really surprising at the time, because that was, unheard of. But instead of adding the Orange Islands, I guess their compromise was okay, we're not going to add the Orange Islands, but we're going to add, a little mini-game, post-game thing called the Sevi Islands. And there's, a little quest. It's pretty short, but it's still cool that there's kind of, an in-canon version of the Orange Islands, in the anime. So, yeah. Anyway, this is who's talking. I really want to show this off. I picked up a copy of Green version when I was in Japan. I was really happy about it. Yeah. So... yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah, and this version, I mean, it's a little worse for wear with some of the it's obviously been well loved, but I'm gonna take it out here.
Still,
and, it's complete in box, so
thousands of times better quality than any average North American copy of a game, though, right? The instruction booklet is intact. Mm-hmm. I recently found my original blue version cartridge, and it's faded, and the stickers, a little bit worse for wear. This is immaculate by comparison.
So for audio listeners, I know I'm showing stuff off right now, and that's the benefits to... If you want to come to the YouTube version at some point, please come over and check this out. But I'm unfurling one of the maps that came with the game. So it's a little not great condition in the back. It looks like a little, I don't know, not moldy, but not even
Aged,
coffee stains, but age. Like it's a little, but it still looks really nice and it's still complete. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's really hard to show this, and I'm sure in the cropped frame, but it's a Kanto map with a bunch of like details on it, which is really cool. I'm holding up, yeah, this is the instruction manual, the Pokemon Green instruction manual here. And it looks like there's also an advert in this manual for the Super Game Boy, which is pretty cool. The Super Game Boy was... so we talked about the Game Boy Player for the GameCube that allowed you to play Game Boy games on your GameCube. This was allowed you to play Game Boy Color games and Game Boy... Could you play Game Boy Color games on it?
I don't think the original.
Okay, well...
But the big thing about the Super Game Boy that it would add color to the original black and white Game Boy games. And certain games like Pokemon, and you can kind of see the preview images on that ad, it would add specific colors. Like most Game Boy games, it would just be, you choose from a number of, it would just be a random, like, oh, everything's blue, everything's red. The Pokemon games had not quite Game Boy Color levels of color, but more than your average, which was a really cool feature.
Yeah. I do remember that feature where you could like cycle through a few palettes.
Sorry, it's also for the Super Famicom in Japan and the Super Nintendo in the US, just to, or outside Japan, just to give some context. Sorry, I was explaining that before and I forgot to mention that it's for the Super Nintendo. And also, yeah, so I can also show off the cartridge. So when they released cartridges in Japan, they were not colorful like here. So it's just a gray cartridge with the Pokemon Green logo. They did not start doing colorful cartridges in Japan until, I think, Crystal version. And I know for sure Gen 3, so Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, all had colorful cartridges in Japan. But before then, that was a Western invention. So, anyway, yeah. My advice is to pick up Pokemon Green version, but if anyone's wondering, like, what Pokemon are exclusive on it, it's literally just blue version with a reskin, like in terms of exclusive Pokemon and stuff like that, and version differences, and of which there's not that many in those games, so version differences didn't become a huge thing until Gen 3. So any other thoughts on Fire Red Leaf Green before we move on to Champions? Okay.
No.
So Pokemon Champions, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically a remake of Pokemon Stadium, kind of like a new version of Stadium, but it's a live service game, so it's going to be coming to Switch in April. That's what they announced, and it's coming to mobile, which is great. Then everyone can play it because most people have phones these days. That you can basically like transfer your. You can either get rental teams, you can earn Pokemon through battles, or you can transfer them in from Pokemon Home, and basically it's a battle simulator. And it's going to be the place where we assume that it will have all Pokemon finally. Stuff they've been cutting from other games, like abilities and stuff like that. Everything will be available in there, in one place for you to actually access it. So,
have they released any actual, like, information about Pokemon Champions? Like, can you change moves? Can you, like, actually train the Pokemon in Pokemon Champions? Because I'm thinking specifically if you had a Pokemon from Pokemon Go, move it to Pokemon Home, like, how are you going to change its moves or change its stats, things like that?
So I don't know if you can... I think Cerebi was talking about this, Cerebi.net. I'll have to double check this. But I'm pretty sure they were saying that... he was saying that you can transfer in Pokemon, and I don't know if you can change moves, but you can transfer them in and... you can change the IVs and EVs. So like all the base stats, all the like hidden numbers and values and stuff to change like Pokemon's strength and stuff like that. Attack, defense, speed, what have you. But when you transfer those Pokemon back into Home, those stat changes do not stay with the Pokemon. Like they don't carry over into Home. However, the game will remember, both Champions and Home will remember that you change those stats on that Pokemon. So let's say you transfer in a Blaziken. You make Blaziken's special attack like max or whatever. And you're like, you transfer it back into Home, and you transfer it back into Scarlet and Violet. It does not have that maxed out stat anymore. But if you bring that Blaziken back into Champions later, even a year later, it will remember that you maxed out that stat in Champions. So that's all I know about it, yeah. But I think the big thing that people are excited for, sorry to cut you off, is that you'll be able to finally have, like, all the gimmicks in each generation never really interacted. So, like, Megas have never fought Gigantamax, Megas have never fought Terastallization, so you'll be able to intermingle a lot of those, or at least we know Mega Evolutions will be able to fight Terastallization. We assume the other ones, too, like Zed moves and stuff like that, and whatever's in Winds and Waves.
That's exciting.
I think what's exciting about what you were saying about maxing the stats is that it might finally at least put a soft end to Pokemon eugenics, which has been one of my biggest criticisms of the franchise, where if there's no reason to put Dittos through a breeding program and try to like just throw out eggs upon eggs into the tall grass and for the Ekans and Pidgey to eat, like, it will save many Pokemon lives. Except
the
for
breeding thing is not in Pokopia.
Oh, yeah. People are still going to do that to get shinies, I'm sure. Oh, I guess shiny hunting, you don't even use eggs anymore. That's old, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the egg hatching in Scarlet and Violet wasn't super great. I mean, they haven't removed eugenics. They've just streamlined it. You could basically, like, go in and, like...
It's just gene therapy.
It's gene editing. Right? Yeah.
It's more ethical.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it ethical, but I would call it more ethical, for sure. Yeah. Is anyone going to be playing this? Because I will not be touching it.
Well, the trailer made it seem like even babies can enjoy it, so that is appealing. Like, I had zero interest, but when I saw, like, a bunch of, like, 7-year-olds, like, playing, it's like, oh, maybe there's a mode that I can not be destroyed at. I would love for there to be, like, a casual mode somehow, like, everyone just uses random rentals, like... I think that would be fun. It would take away from the personalization part of Pokemon that I really enjoy, but I don't know. Yeah. Like, if it's free, I might as well download it. But
you remember that episode in the anime where it's like that Pokemon exam where they just give you like 3 random Pokemon and you battle
that was fun.
That would be a fun mode.
It's a Jigglypuff seen from above. That's where that meme. That's the episode that meme comes from. That's all I remember from it.
Well, I just remember that's where like Ash got the Team Rocket's
Pokemon. Team Rocket got Ash's
that's
Pokemon.
Great.
Yeah.
And neither of them really knew how to do they realized in each other's shoes they weren't very good with their opposing Pokemon, so that was kind of fun. But they weren't the actual ones, right? They were like a rental Arbok, a rental Coughing or whatever, right?
It was just a coincidence that they used the Pokemon. Although at the time there were only, 140 odd usable Pokemon, so the odds weren't that terrible that they would get Ekans or Arbok, Weezing, etc.
But that they would group them together.
Yeah.
Nicole, are you gonna play Champions?
Like, I'm not like a big mobile gamer. Did you say it was only mobile?
No, it's also on Switch. It's coming to Switch first, and it's coming to mobile later this year. It's coming to Switch in April. Don't know if I said that already.
I don't know. I'm not very I'm not a competitive battler either. Like, I can appreciate all the cool tricks and like the combos and setups that people put together, but like I don't spend that much time like optimizing everything. So I just want to use the Pokemon I like and make them the best I can be without spending like all my time on them.
I think that's one thing that I liked about Stadium is that they had like things like the Little Cup, and
the mini games.
And well, definitely the mini games. But even saying like you can only use unevolved Pokemon, you can only use Pokemon level 5 or whatever the weird different battle limitations were. Like, I think those kind of things were fun. I don't know if you could do that sort of thing these days. But it would be cool to, like, have, I don't want them to use the Smogon, like, actual tiers or anything, but it would be neat to have, like, only use Pokemon with a base stat total under, like, 200 or 300 or whatever it was. So, you could see Ledian finally get to dominate something, which would be great.
Nicole, when you were playing Scarlet and Violet, or Violet version, you were really into the Tatsugiri-Dondozo combo.
Oh, yeah.
You seem to be really interested in competitive battling, so I'm actually kind of surprised by your answer.
I think because it was such like a fun gimmick, like the one, so Tatsugiri and Dondozo, specifically when you send them out during a double battle, Tatsugiri jumps into Dondozo's mouth and they become one unit. So Dondozo gets like a huge stat boost and Tatsugiri is just like kind of the pilot and is protected from all the attacks, I guess. And I just wanted to like try that mechanic, but there's like a lot of disadvantages because then you only get one attack during your turn. But I was surprised that like some people have found a way around it. Like you could give like the toxic orb or something to Tatsugiri. Is it the toxic orb that it makes you poisoned when you send it out? So then when it faints, due to poison, you can send out another Pokemon to fill that second slot. But Dondozo keeps all the stat boosts. So that's one way to get around it. It's like, oh, how do people think of this stuff? Like, yeah. But I never did that.
I don't know. It sounds like you might enjoy it. But
Yeah.
It would be nice if they integrated tutorials or something. Like, you know, I know that they couldn't
I feel like they will. I feel like they will.
They couldn't do like the TCG Pocket approach of simplifying the battle system, but it would be nice if they had like, you know, like the Tatsugiri Dondozo thing where you have a team of like rentals and you happen to have like Tatsugiri and Dondozo and they guide you through a tutorial. It's like, send out these two, look at what you can do. Now try it on your own. Try battling this Pokemon with it.
Here's a Cinnamoroar and a Moogus.
Or like decide between Mega Tatsugiri and using the Dondozo combo.
The sushi combo. Mega Tatsugiri.
I do think it's free to play at least. Or at least like free to start. I think there's going to be like a paid tier maybe, but I'm not sure if that was just a theory that I read. But let's quickly cover Legends EA. I just want to like bring up this information because it's not really clear unless you read the really fine print in the trailer. But they showed off a trailer for Pokemon Legends EA. They revealed Mega Garchomp Z, which is the last Mega to be revealed. That was data mined, supposedly. And even though the Mega Garchomp Z is free, you do need the DLC to actually access the Pokemon. So the Mega Dimension DLC. Because Nicole, when we were watching, we weren't sure about that earlier. But I looked at the fine print, and you have to complete a couple hyperspace distortion things in the DLC to then get access to the hyperspace distortion that has Mega Garchomp Z in it. Where you then have to battle it to then get its Mega Stone. So,
when I was watching the trailer, I just saw that there was a Charizard there, and I just started to chant, like, Charizard 5, Charizard 5, Charizard 5. We're not getting Charizard 5.
like Mega Charizard Z?
Yeah.
I would like a Mega Charizard Z. I actually thought they were going to do Venusaur and Blastoise only as Z. So then they could give them each two megas. But
I just want the meme of Charizard 5 to become real. I don't even like... Charizard is probably my least favorite of the line, and I still want Charizard 5.
fair. I thought they'd do a Mega Mewtwo Z as well, because Mewtwo is really popular. But, I don't know, maybe in 20 years when they do XY remakes. Alright, let's talk about Pokopia, unless, Nicole, you have any thoughts on ZA? I know neither of us has finished that game yet, so we haven't even gotten close to the DLC, so...
I feel like not a true Pokemon fan. But life has been busy.
Yeah, it's true. There are too many games.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Pokopia. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is like Dragon Quest Builders, Minecraft, Animal Crossing, life sim Pokemon game, where basically you are in a ruined region, post-apocalyptic, and you are a Ditto who wants to rebuild the land in hopes that your trainer will return, which is why you look like your trainer. So that's why the Ditto, that's the main character that you're playing as, looks like a human. And as you play through the game, you get lots of Pokemon attacks to help rebuild the region, and you recruit lots of Pokemon. Today they revealed a new Rotom form, which gives me hope that we're getting a new type one day, because they revealed that Rotom is getting a stereo form. Rotom transforms into a bunch of different forms, which gives it a secondary typing. So like if you transform into Morotom, you get the grass typing along with electric, I think. And we lose the ghost typing, right? So anyway, but this Rotom form obviously has no types in the game. It is just the stereo form, and then throughout the game you're going to be able to collect CDs. And when you collect those CDs, you can then use the Rotom as a jukebox and play different songs from the Pokemon franchise in the game. So like the Red and Blue music, they showed off Scarlet and Violet music, and they showed off, for sure they showed off Ruby and Sapphire music, because Fortree City was one of the examples as well, which I think is really cool. So sound type, everyone? Sound type? How do we feel about sound type?
Well, I just love Rotom in general, so I'm always happy to see a new Rotom form, even if it's a dictionary or a drone.
True.
So, speaker, that's cool too.
That we talked at depth about the sound type, I feel like, and there's a lot of pros and cons. Like a lot of Pokemon who are already they fit the sound type.
Yeah. There's Jigglypuff, there's Exploud, there's
Meloetta.
Meloetta was my other, yeah, it was one I was gonna, there's a whole bunch though. I came up with a list of like 40 of them that could be given the sound. There's Lapras's Gigantamax, which is all music notes around it.
But I feel like with Meloetta, it'll be the same thing with the like Celebi. Like Celebi probably should have become a fairy type instead of psychic, but it's been its type for too long that they won't make that change.
Yeah, I think honestly, Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, Manaphy doesn't even have a psychic type, and Victini, those all should have fairy type instead of psychic, with the exception of Mew. I think Mew should be psychic fairy because of Mewtwo, but I think the fairy type fits. And also the Pixies, the Gen 4 Pixies, should also have are they fairy type or are they still psychic?
No, I think they're just pure psychic.
Yeah, so. But they did retcon a bunch of Pokemon into fairy type, like Clefairy. So, I don't know. Maybe they could retcon a bunch into sound type. Yeah. We could even call it the music type. I don't know. I want a new type. I want sound type. I want cyber type, which they'll never do because of Digimon. And I want cosmic type, because they could do a bunch of like space-themed Pokemon, and they could give the cosmic type to stuff like Deoxys and Eternatus, and they could stop using stuff like yeah, the Ultra Beasts. So, and technically Eternatus has the Ultra Beast sound effect in its cry, the same one the other Ultra Beasts do. So it's theoretically an Ultra Beast.
So how about that Pokopia?
Sorry. Pokopia looks really cute. Also, they revealed the multiplayer, so you can visit each other's towns, which I think is like the key thing that's going to give this game like a lot of popularity, is that like we could all be playing Pokopia, and that's another reason you should get a Switch 2, Nicole, so you can play Pokopia. We could build towns together and stuff like that, like in Animal Crossing.
Yes, that sounds really fun.
I do have to say that like this trailer did sort of sell me on Pokopia, where like I didn't know if it would be like a day one kind of game for me, but it looks much more expansive than the initial trailer made it out to be.
And you can be a Magnemite. They confirmed that.
Or you can be a Ditto as Magnemite.
You're still Magnemite. It's still Magnemite coded.
Would this be the first game since one of the Mystery Dungeons that you could play as Magnemite, or could you even do that in Mystery Dungeon?
I don't think you could do that in Mystery Dungeon.
So is this the first playable Magnemite?
In Scarlet and Violet, you could play as Magnemite because, and it's very slow. Magnemite just hovers very slowly, but they made it so you could transfer your conscious. This is weird. I don't know why they did this. I think it was a test that didn't work out for ZA. Maybe they were planning to let you play as the Pokemon instead of the trainer with the Pokemon following you, but they made it so every Pokemon in the game, you could transfer your consciousness into the Pokemon and walk around and do the auto battle as the Pokemon. It was very simple. And it was kind of awful. But you could play as a Magnemite there.
Was
they call it synchronization?
Yeah. I didn't try Magneton because Magnemite's better.
Yeah, some Pokemon were so much faster at just navigating and others were not.
And also, you could kill shinies by mistake in that mode, so no one really used it.
But now in Pokopia, you can become objects too, like a barrel.
Oh yeah, that looks fun.
Oh yeah,
the hide and seek mode.
Yeah.
It was funny when I was watching that part. I'm like, this is going to be super easy unless you can turn into objects. And then, like 20 seconds later, they unveiled that, because before that it was like, where did you go? Like, it is a very like, it felt like they were treating every viewer like a 5-year-old in that trailer, because they were like, where did you go? And the Ditto human is like clearly just behind the tree, and the voiceover artist was like, there you are, yay. But at least with the turning into objects, it's like, okay, hide and seek can actually be fun. That's cool.
There's a challenge.
Challenge mode.
And I love that you can build everything like I never played Minecraft, but you can like build things with blocks to like literally anything you can imagine.
And it was nice to see the music panels at the top of the Ditto.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
I didn't
when
notice that.
after they build the giant Ditto
Right.
block tower thing, there's some music note panels, and one of the Dittos runs across it, and it does the Pokemon Center healing, like the dun dun da da da.
Oh, that's where that came from. I
Yeah,
thought that was kind of random that that was in there at all. I didn't realize that. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. So that's cool. You can incorporate different jingles or sound effects.
Someone's gonna do like the entire battle theme or something. Like just make a path that is just the battle theme that you can walk across.
Well, people did that with Mario Maker, right? Like there were entire Mario Maker levels that were just like Mario Paint like Mario Paint likes, where it would be like an auto runner where Mario would just be launched into this like conveyor belt, and based off of like a Koopa shell that would like hit a switch and then roll over all these different music note blocks, it would just play music. So it would just be this, artificial MIDI generation. So probably nothing that elaborate in a 3D game like Pokopia, but I'm sure people will do some interesting things.
I do remember, like, in the Gen 3 secret bases, you could buy these little music note mats that would make a note when you stepped on them. So maybe it's, like, kind of a nod to that, too.
So, the director of this game, Shigeru Omori, I think his name is.
Sounds right.
Anyway, he's directed a bunch of the Pokemon games, but his first job was Ruby and Sapphire and placing tiles. That was his first job at Game Freak. Anyway, he said that he was inspired by secret bases and he thought the idea wasn't fully fleshed out, so that's why this game exists. It's because of the secret bases.
I'm surprised, like, you can customize, like, it seems, every single building. So if you want to build, like, a house for Magnemite or a mansion for Magnemite,
Of course I do.
it seems like you can.
I will.
Which is
I'm going to build a whole region for Magnemite, and that Magnemite can live there happily.
Just build a throne and a giant castle.
The Monarch Magnemite. Monarchnemite. All right, shall we move on from Pokopia to the really big news with the big gay starters?
We probably should.
All right, so new Pokemon game is coming out, Winds and Waves. This is the basic information. It's called Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. For the first time ever, it's not a red version and a blue version. It's actually a green version and a blue version, which is really cool. And it is coming, this is the big thing, is that it's coming out in 2027. So we thought it was going to come out this fall, but I think GTA 6 has scared even Pikachu. So maybe Rockstar has a gun to Pikachu's head. I don't know, but anyway, Winds and Waves. So I think the big thing is the starters, and that's where the queerness really comes in, is because everyone's calling the dog. Okay, so there's a grass bird that looks like an angry bird. There's a dog that looks like a fire dog that looks like the dog from Undertale, and then there's a gecko that looks like a Littlest Pet Shop gecko with even the like flashy eyes.
I need to specify the reboot Littlest Pet Shop. Back in my day, there was a Littlest Pet Shop where they didn't have exaggerated eyes. Like I remember having hamsters, and they had normal hamsters. Again, this is showing my age. I was very young when the original Littlest Pet Shop came out. But the Littlest Pet Shop happened, and then there was briefly a cartoon where they relaunched Littlest Pet Shop again, and then it went away for decades, and then, the Littlest Pet Shop that Zoe's referring to came out, and that's what the gecko looks like.
I guess, yeah, like everyone's kind of calling the dog gay.
Oh,
like,
why?
Not in a bad way, like the gays have like latched on and said this is the gay dog,
Okay.
and also the gay gecko, and then there's just an angry bird. So...
What was it like in the last gen? Was it like Sprigatito was like she, her? Oh my gosh, what's it?
And
Fuecoco was
they, them.
they, them. Quaxley was cool hat.
Cool hat, yeah.
Pronouns.
So the bird is called Brout, the dog is called Pombon, and the gecko is called Gekwa. And the gecko is literally just a water version of a leopard gecko.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the entire region is clearly, like, Oceania, Southeast Asia, that kind of, thing. I've seen a lot of Indonesians on Twitter, like, all 5 of them being really thrilled that there's, clearly Indonesian rep, like, the architecture. Even like the color of the paint apparently in the building is reminiscent of Indonesia. But looking at it's Gekwa, right?
Gekwa, yeah.
Yeah, looking at Gekwa's design, like it is a desert gecko, but water, which is really a cool juxtaposition. Like, I do appreciate that.
Especially funny because my leopard gecko Mango hates the water. Absolutely hates it.
Or Mango.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the other two starters have. I mean, we'll see what happens with the chick. The dog is a Pomeranian, so I'm assuming its final evolution will be like what's it called, a chow or a chow chow? What's the dog that looks like a giant Pomeranian?
Poofier. Yeah. It'll just be an orb.
Yeah. Although it's going to have to be like almost like lion dog like, right? Like I'm hoping it's going to be regal. I was going to say I'm hoping all four of them or all three of them stay on all fours, but the bird shouldn't go on all fours. That would be weird. So
let's hope it just doesn't grow arms, I guess, is the big thing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Decidueye came close.
I think I saw some people commenting on it saying like, oh, it could become like a hippogriff and then it could be on all fours.
Oh, yeah, that's
Which
true.
could be interesting.
Okay. Are those things just from Harry Potter, or are those a real mythical
No,
thing?
they're a mythical thing.
Thank God.
So,
All right,
yeah.
cool.
Like griffins, yeah. They call hippogriffs in Harry Potter, but like, yeah.
No, the hippogriffs are a thing too. It's a
Okay.
deer
Okay.
instead of a lion.
Gotcha. Got it. Yeah, it's interesting that like they seem to be kind of rehashing the type and animal combos from previous gens. Like we've had like a plant bird, we've had Rowlet, we've had a fire canine like in Fennekin, and water lizard, Sobble.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing different variations of them are interesting, and wondering what their final evolutions are going to be.
I think the only one that's an improvement is Gekwa. I think Rowlet and Fennekin are better designs, personally. I have nothing against the new designs. I just like the old ones a little bit better. But I think Gekwa is an improvement on Sobble.
Is Gekwa... Okay, so I was going to ask, is Gekwa an improvement on Sobble or an improvement on Trico?
No. Trico and Charmander are 10 out of 10. No, it's perfect. If I could have a playthrough with Charmander, Trico, and Gekwa, that would be the peak game. Yes. And, of course, a doggy. Yes. I'm holding Olive right now because she wants to chew on things she should not be chewing on. Olive is my dog, for anyone listening on the audio version. Anyway, please continue.
I'm curious. I mean, obviously, speculation about evolution is all everyone is going to talk about for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Or a year and a half, whatever it ends up being.
I think it's going to be 2 years. But
And, like, it would be disappointing if the chick turns into Grass Blaziken. But I'm not sure what else it's going to be because...
we do need a Grass Blaziken, though, because we have a Water Blaziken, Gazakin.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, but like...
Huxley's final evolution.
The Pomeranian is already probably going to be round when it evolves.
Or it's a big buff dog dude, like in Undertale.
We do have a big buff cat dude, so I guess a big buff dog dude to counter it would make sense. But I want all of them to stay animals for the first time in a while, please. Like, yeah. I just want them to be animals.
It's funny, actually, because for the gecko, I want it to stay on all fours, but Charmander, Trico, and Sobble, they evolve into bipedal lizards, and to be honest, I think they're great designs.
Charizard is fine. Charizard is a Western dragon. Inteleon is a man.
Intel.
Like, that's, like, all three of them. Like, the fact that a gorilla is the most animalistic of the three is a problem. Because gorillas are, like, 80% humans. I think more, like, I think it's 86. Like, genetically, like, a gorilla should not be the most animal of three animals.
I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of Inteleon, which is why I'm happy that Gekwa exists, because they have a chance to correct the water lizard design. But if it does end up being on two legs, I'm okay with that, because I like Charmander. I mean, I like Charizard, and I like Sceptile a lot. And to be honest, I like Charmeleon and Grovyle as well, so I'm not a big fan of Drizzile. I like its storyline in the anime because it's very lizard accurate, but I don't really like its design. I think it looks too much like an emo kid. I think they're injecting way too much human into those designs, like you said. But I hate it more for Drizzile than I do for Inteleon, weirdly enough.
Yeah, no, I think Drizzile is not as successful as Inteleon. I don't like Inteleon, but yeah, there have been more questionable designs.
All right, if you had to pick your starter right now and you don't know anything else than we do today, who are we picking?
Gekwa.
Gekwa? Okay. Nicole?
I'll pick Brout, the bird.
Nice. Can I pick two? I want my dog and my gecko because those are my two pets.
The dog is the internet's favorite.
It is, yeah.
Like, even with not being online that much today, I can tell the dog is the internet's favorite.
I saw a poll, though, that Gekwa came pretty close behind, and people do not really like Brout in comparison. Like, Pombon was like 51%, and Gekwa was like 38%, and then, like, Brout was like, I don't know, whatever was left, like 10%.
I think,
Poor
yeah,
Brout.
Pompon is the most conventionally cute face.
I do think that, like, birds have a lot of potential for final designs. Like, the birds that we've gotten have all been pretty distinct. Like, between Blaziken and Owled Decidui and Quaxleval or whatever.
Quackleval?
Yeah, that one. The birds have been pretty distinct and, like, pretty good, like, as far as design goes. Mammals can go any which way. That dog can be anything. It has its entire life ahead of it.
Yeah.
So I'm worried for it, though. It could make some bad choices, but we'll have to see.
What do you think the typings will be? Or what are you hoping for?
With Gekwa, I'm guessing Psychic, just due to it looks like it has a
Purple
third eye,
color.
like a drop. So that's kind of my prediction. I would love the dog to just stay fire.
I've seen people theorizing it's going to be Fire Fairy.
Okay, yeah. Like, Fido is a fairy type, so there's a odd number of fairy dogs out there.
Oh, yeah.
True, yeah. It's never stopped them before, though.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be firefighting, let's be honest.
It hasn't happened for a while.
Okay, I need to move the mouse for a second.
Fire, yeah, I think the most likely is probably pure fire or... You know what, if it was firefighting but still quadrupedal, I think I would find that kind of interesting. Like, have we had a defensive focused firefighting type yet?
No.
Okay, so that was
As far as I know.
interesting.
I think I saw someone speculate because Pombon is so round and it's like fur is a big thing for it. They could go off like the static kind of aspect of the fur and make it like fire electric, which would be cool.
Jeez, that'll make Score Bunny fans really happy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That bird is...
I have no idea what direction that bird is
I
going.
mean, it's
Yeah.
clearly, I think, supposed to be a chicken. I'm sure Loxton on YouTube will explain what specific thing it is, based off of Indonesian folklore or modern culture or something. It looks like a chicken, so if it is a chicken, it's probably not going to be flying type. So I think it could go any direction. I think a grass fighting would be fitting, though. It would make most of the chickens, or all of the chickens, fighting types then. Which would have unfortunate implications with the whole,
yeah.
rooster fighting situation. So maybe not. Like, maybe it would be nice if it was grass fairy or something and just pleasant. But we'll have to see.
Okay, we do have to move on, though. We're going to talk about two more things before we go. These are the two things I wanted to talk about the most, is that diving is back, which is really cool, or at least that's the implication. Because they showed like a big underwater thing and there's lots of Pokemon swimming around. So I guess the idea here is that because Yeah, one of the games is called Waves, so like you're gonna be able to go underwater, and it's the first time diving's been back since Ruby and Sapphire remakes, which is Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. But also, I want to talk about the performance because everyone's really praising the visuals, but there's still a lot of jaggies and a lot of performance issues hidden in there if anyone looks, actually. And I'm a little disappointed that, one, it's still 30 FPS. Two, when they throw the Pokeball and it's like shaking to catch a Pokemon, it's still floating for some reason instead of just being on the ground where it should be. Third, the other problem that I have is that if you look closely at any of the models that you see, like any model, like even trees or whatever, like they all look good texturally, detail-wise, but everything around it has a jaggy edge, which suggests to me poor optimization. So obviously the game is still potentially 2 years away. Hopefully they can fix it in that time, but anyway. Did anyone else notice this, or was everyone just enamored by how pretty it actually looked compared to Scarlet and Violet's reveal?
They really distracted with those waves.
The waves are really pretty.
Like, I definitely did see, like, oh, that's a polygonal tree, or like the branches, like there's some leaves of the trees, and I looked at them like, oh, that's still pretty polygonal. But then those waves, those are some pretty waves.
That's where all the budget went. It was nice looking water. But maybe because it is an improvement from the Lumiose, like I guess Legends ZA. Because it's all more organic forms and not just a bunch of buildings, that they can get away with a bit more like rough around the edges kind of look, and say it's like just part of the stylization.
It's a convenient excuse to let Pokemon avoid letting us go back into buildings again, which they seem to be really afraid to do unless it's a museum. We can go into museums and schools, but that's it. And the one hotel.
Yeah, even the Pokemon centers are outdoors again, so they don't want you going inside a Pokemon center. All right, does anyone have anything last mentions for Winds and Waves before we wrap up for the day?
I'm excited. I think that the 2027 release date is like the most disappointing best news that was in the entire Direct. I think it's great that they're hopefully getting the time to actually work on it, and they're not just going to sit on it because of Grand Theft Auto.
Let's place our bets. First half 2027 or fall 2027? What are we thinking?
Late,
Nicole?
maybe. For like
Yeah, I think so too.
Black Friday or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think releasing November is probably... like, it's going to be too appealing for them to pass up, I think. Even if it's ready in March, I think they're going to just sit on it until November.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think. I think it is going to be ready probably early. But I think it also might depend on what else is coming out for Switch 2.
I have a sobering thought for everyone before we wrap up. This will be the worst thing people are going to hear. But the next time we hear about this game, any news from the Pokemon Company, will be 1 year from today. We're recording on February 27th, which is Pokemon Day. Pokemon's 31st anniversary is the next time we hear any news, just like Legends EA. People are going to go all year hoping to hear anything. We're not going to hear a thing. Unless that game is coming out first half 2027 by some chance, we're not hearing anything again for another year. So buckle in. Those starters, there's going to be a good 2 years of speculating what those final forms are. We're going to be disappointed.
You know what? I disagree slightly. I think in like September we'll get like the legendary, like the box art reveal, but that'll be the entire trailer. It'll just be a trailer that will be like a cinematic CG, like zoom in. Here's the wind boss, here's the wave boss, and that's it.
No, they won't do that because they only reveal the box art and the legendaries on the box when they're about to put pre-orders up.
Oh, when they have the box art ready, I guess.
We won't even see the box art legendaries until May 2027. Late May 2027, maybe early June, is usually when they put pre-orders up for the November game.
So what are they just going to focus on champions for the next
I think
year?
Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald in the fall.
Okay.
Or at least Ruby, Sapphire. They'll do the same thing they did before where Crystal will come late. Crystal came later, so you had to buy Gold and Silver, and then a year later they did Crystal. They'll do Ruby and Sapphire this fall, and then a year after that, or whatever, next summer 2027, they'll do Emerald, and then everyone will be like, but I just bought Ruby and Sapphire, as if Emerald wasn't coming.
So do you think that there won't be another Pokemon Presents until Pokemon Day 2027 then?
It's possible. Did they have one? Did they have one mid 2024 when there was no ZA news, or they revealed other stuff?
I don't remember.
I think Detective Pikachu was the only game they had, and they revealed that in a Nintendo Direct. So, I think it depends if they have anything big to announce. That's like Ruby and Sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't think so. I think the next time we get a proper Pokemon Presents is February 27th, 2027.
Oh, that would make me very sad because like part of my favorite thing about them introducing a new gen is like when they like drop a new Pokemon, like they just tease you what's coming.
They have the opportunity to do something they haven't done in a long time, which is they could actually drip feed us, but maybe one or two per year, like one or two this year, maybe up to a max of like 3 or 4, maybe 5. But they could reveal new Pokemon throughout the year, just very slowly, like pre-evolutions, evolutions, Pokemon that are related to existing ones, and the occasional new one. Because they used to do this. Like Munchlax was revealed like 2 or 3 years before Diamond and Pearl came out. And then they can put those new Pokemon in like the anime or spin-offs as like little teases. They could do that throughout the year if they really wanted to. I doubt they will, but they
Is there a
could.
new movie coming out? They could put him in that.
There hasn't been a new movie in 6 years, and I really don't think they're going to do another one ever.
Oh boy.
So...
Hopefully there's more animation projects. There is the Sirfetch'd short coming out.
That's coming out in 2027.
Okay. So gonna
Unfortunately,
be a while then.
yeah. And there's no concierge news. Like, they just dropped new concierge, so it wouldn't be to 2027 anyway, because those 4 episodes take a long time to make.
Yeah, so it's just Horizons until Pokemon Day.
Yeah. They could drop another web series. I thought for sure they were going to announce like Generations or Evolutions or Origins. Like they usually on an anniversary or a big year they'll drop like an anime that's based on the exact like an adaptation of the games.
I kind of thought they were going to announce like Ash coming into Horizons for an episode.
Oh,
like I
figured
figured that would have been a great thing for the 30th anniversary, celebration.
In the presents actually they showed the anime, but they showed Horizons. No Ash. They forgot that he existed.
And even in Masters, they have Red.
Yeah. They've already done Ash, though, to be fair.
Yeah, a few Ashes.
So.
I can't believe it's been 30 years.
I know. That means we're old. I know I said this before, but we're really old now. It's time to retire.
Again, as someone who was there for Pokemon Power, the Nintendo Power inserts, it's been... Like, I remember... reading Nintendo Power and them having a little preview of Pokemon as a franchise, and it was like literally a tiny paragraph, and it was back when they were still convinced Poliwhirl was going to be one of the like main franchise mascots because they were focusing like I think Poliwhirl got bigger billing than Pikachu at the time. And
Clefairy.
Clefairy didn't show up in the Western media.
Oh no, it didn't. Well, in Japan, it was
I think
for a while.
Yeah, I think Clefairy was before it started to be exported. The potential mascot, but by the time it had already like latched on in Japan, Pikachu was starting to become a thing, but Poliwhirl was like just as big. And then once they decided to localize it, Nintendo Power released these Pokemon Power inserts, which were like a strategy guide, and then they had like a comic, so like the anime cut up into comic panels, which was great. And I was excited before the game ever came out.
Nice.
Months before.
I do miss the days of physical magazines. Game Informer is back. You can get Game Informer physical if you can find it somewhere. But anyway, that is all the time we have. Thank you both for joining me. Happy 30th anniversary to Pokemon. Amy-Lynn, where can people find you if they want to follow you on social media?
If you search Amethyst Lilac, and there is more Ys than you think, check True Avatar's Blue Sky, Instagram, mutual follows, whatever, you'll find me there.
Nicole, if people want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram under Nicole Tings. It's my name, NicoleTyngs. I'm not a very frequent poster, but I do monitor my DM, so you can reach out.
All right, that's all the time we have, but thank you both for joining me. Happy 30th to Pokemon, and here's to 30 more. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
And that just about wraps up this week's show. Thanks, True Avatars, for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. By listening to the show, you are supporting queer-made content, which is more important than ever. If you want to support True Avatars, it would be really great if you could leave a comment, rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube under the handle @TrueAvatars, all one word, and on Facebook and Instagram under True Avatars. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when new content drops. I welcome you to check out the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com. That's all one word, trueavatarspodcast.com. On the website, you can sign up for the newsletter, where you can get exclusive news and updates on the show. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.